Firstly, in this week's programme, me and my friend went on a little walk. The weather was very changeable on the day, but we made the best of it, and it was also the first time that I had taken this video camera out, so I was just getting to grips with it. My friend actually took a pretty decent shot to say how much I was shaking the camera usually. On the way back, we went into this garden near an art gallery, and we both said that we probably hadn't seen so many different colours of roses before, and yeah, it was very pretty. On a very, very hot day, I went to my friend's house and we just had a nice time playing a game. This is Azul. I've played it a few times on camera before, I think. We also made pizza. I'm really, really terrible at baking, so I literally don't go near it, so my friend luckily did a lot of it for me, which was really nice. And I didn't help much at all, which is why I'm here just dancing about, because they were doing all the hard work. As per usual, that is often how things go. Here I was building my pizza. I'm a vegetarian, so I don't have meat or anything like that, but olives are probably one of my favourite pizza toppings. I really love olives on pizza. And then I was very excited the pizza was getting cooked, and this was the moment it was finished.
Oh yeah, that's it, done. Are you happy with it?
Yes.
Bring your plate, love.
Oh, I have that. What's that?
In the background here, my friend is really struggling to get his pizza off the surface to cook it. The pizza was very good and warranted more dancing, of course. The heatwave did get the better of me at times, so I had to have a rest whilst also trying to carry on my work.
So I just wanted to show you this page I've been working on today, and just mention some things about it. So like, this is a page where Tin and Joni, the main characters of my comic, are having a pretty serious argument for them, and the majority of the argument takes place in this one page, because I decided to use this kind of floating head approach. In some ways this might seem like a bit of a kind of, I don't know, like a shortcut in a way, but the reality is that actually I find this can create a bit of variety with the panels, and also these panels wouldn't necessarily be that exciting anyway, because it would just be square after square after square of like them talking and arguing anyway, so it kind of adds a bit of a different way to go about characters talking to each other. And I just, yeah, for this I just decided it would be a bit more dynamic to do it this way. And also I kind of added the Jazz's reaction to being mentioned in the argument. Jazz is another character that happens to be like witnessing this happen, but they don't really know Jazz very well at this point. So you can see here I kind of used the floating heads, and then I'm preparing to do this bit down here, but I'm gonna, when I draw this, change Joni's expression a bit to be, because she's now quite angry as well, and I'm gonna maybe intensify the anger of Tin as well. What's quite interesting is there was actually going to be another response from Joni here, but it's ended up not fitting on, and actually I realised that it actually might work better, because what she was going to say was maybe more of an explanation than was needed for this part of the argument, and it's something that I can use later. So it's funny how sometimes things work out like that. So yeah, I think this is just, it's just sometimes I think the choice you make to maybe put across a lot of information in one page where it's more text heavy, so that it's maybe not as intensive drawing wise, because I'm sort of just over halfway pages wise through this comic, and I just kind of want to conserve my energy and my determination, and not make my life really, really hard with the panels and stuff. So I still think this comes across in quite a dynamic way. I've not completely finished it obviously, but yeah, what do you think? I think this still is quite a nice way to put the information across, and still has dynamic, you know, movement in it, whilst ultimately being a lot less drawing, which is quite nice.
set up the camera just very briefly, not in a very fancy nice way, just to talk about my comic as I'm just taking a little breather working on it for 5 minutes. Yeah, so I kind of like, I did this comic I've been making this comic in sections, like a few pages at a time. So I'm currently working on the 5th section, and there's going to be 4 more. And then obviously I'll just have to do things like the cover and anything else I want to add to it. So I'm like getting over that midway point, but it has been a really tough point, I have to admit. I think I can feel that it's gonna be a relief when I get through into the final sections. But it's been a bit hard going, and yet I still, actually, when I think about the story as a whole, I do still like this story, and I do still believe that it has a nice meaning to it, and, you know, I do want to persevere with it, but I think at times, like, maybe it's a stamina thing. I've never done a project this long with my art before. It's taken me just over a year now, like this is over a year. But that's not been working on it like dedicated, you know, all the time. Like if I had just kept making it all the time, I definitely probably would have already finished it. Because each section probably takes me more, like, if I'm actually really focusing on it, it probably takes me like 2.5 weeks of work, roughly. But some have been harder than others because some sections have been really hard and I've had to develop new character designs and things like that. At this point, like, every character that's going to be in this issue, except from one actually, has already been drawn. So, like, at least there's no more of that. But, yeah, I think it's one of those things, like, part of me starts going off into other ideas and wanting to do other things, but I think I'm really going to try and persevere and focus on the comic as best I can. And I also have to remind myself, like, I can do other things. Like, I can draw, like, for example, when I did the, you know, this piece, I did that piece, like, in a day. You know, it was one day where I didn't work on the comic, 1 or 2. So, you know, it's not like necessarily working on something else means taking weeks off from the comic or anything. But this section particularly has taken me a really long time just because lots of other tasks and things I had to do. A lot of other things got in the way, life things got in the way, and it's just been quite slow going this section, but I'm really determined to power through, and I actually really do quite like this section. There's some panels that I really, really like. And I feel this also starts to pull us forward a bit into the plot as we move forward to a bit, you know, slightly more interesting bits and then like the resolution and stuff. I think it's just sometimes, you know, as an artist, I want to make sure I'm making meaningful work and I'm spending my time wisely as best I can. And the world just seems every day there's another thing, and people suffering so much in so many ways, and I want to help that in some small way. And I guess sometimes when I'm working on a longer project, I feel this like urgency because longer projects demand that you do give them your time, and yet equally time feels you know, like I say, it feels you've got to spend it wisely. And yet I really hate that kind of, I'm not trying to talk about that kind of, you know, you only live once mentality, because I find that really frustrating, actually. I'm just saying, I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm quite tired. It's really hot as well. But yeah, I just want to make sure I'm making work that is meaningful, but then I know that I really like fiction that puts across meaningful topics, and sometimes fiction needs time to lay the groundwork to make those points meaningful, if that makes sense. You know, the irony is that one of the key points in this issue is that I introduced the fact that Joni is someone who, without spoiling it, because you will find out very soon, that Joni once had a job where she felt she could more meaningfully help people, more like obviously help people in a more kind of typical way, a more direct way. And now that she's making the toasties and she's got this, job making food and stuff, she sometimes feels that she can't help people and she's kind of useless or helpless and she's not doing anything good, and that she just really wants to do something good, and she still wants to help people somehow in a small way. So I think in a way it's kind of ironic that I'm having these doubts while making this story, because I'm kind of literally going through what Joni goes through in the comic. I guess that's why they're my characters, but yeah. I also had a bit of a refresh of the art room wall. On the Sunday, I just really felt in the mood to sketchbook and just draw, so I drew a drawing of myself from a photo my friend had taken of me holding my pizza, and I got some great ASMR. I don't feel like the expression was quite happy enough, it wasn't quite there, but sometimes it's just good to go with it. Yeah, so firstly, I apologise that I didn't do a vlog for last week, especially because it was only like the third week and I want to show that I am going to be consistent. I was just struggling with deciding to change my camera. It took a while for the new one to come and then there was a bit of an issue, but the camera people sorted it out really, really well. They were like a quite independent company called Castle Cameras, and they were really, really great. They rang me up, they sorted it out. I thought it was all really very professional of them. So yeah, I'm really pleased with the camera and it feels a lot more like a camera experience. I don't know how to explain it. Like when I was out with my friend, I was like, this just feels more like when I used to enjoy going out and taking photos. It just feels more like a camera. But I'm not really used to, obviously I got quite used to having like a gimbal camera that like basically never shakes, and this is like the complete opposite, especially because I've only got like a fairly cheap lens on it. If you had a better lens on it, the lens itself would have better stabilization, but I really need to tell myself to like stop and stand still long enough, because or like obviously use a tripod, which is what I like to do a lot anyway. But I actually noticed this with my phone as well. Like sometimes I'll be taking video on my phone, I'll think that I've stood there taking the video for plenty of time, and then when I watch it back I've literally filmed for like 1 second and it's a 1 second clip. So I really need to take my time with this camera, because yeah, that day I went out with my friend and we filmed the roses and stuff. I was feeling a bit seasick the other day when I watched that. Like you'd have maybe thought I was trying to do some kind of Blair Witch Project inspired vlog, which I don't think is really the vibe for cozy art vlogs. Yeah, funny old week, quite a lot of random different things. Still haven't quite finished the inking of my comic, and I'm just trying to like not feel, if you feel bad about it, it's just gonna get worse. Like I feel like I've kept the people on Webtoon waiting for absolutely ages. This ended up being 7 pages, this section. I don't usually do that many pages at once, one after the other. It's kind of gone from like 4 to 5 and then to 6 to 7, so it's kind of increased quite a lot. So yeah, I think that's why I found this one quite hard work, and I also just had a lot of other things getting in the way as I was working on it, and I just need to do one little last bit on one of the pages, and then I'm also just needing to colour it, but that is generally a lot of a quicker process because, you know, it's kind of like I don't have to think as much about that by a mile. So yeah, it's kind of a weird day. There's been a storm, there's been a lot of heat recently. I think I need to catch up on some sleep. I feel like I didn't necessarily show much art in this one, I don't know, but hope it was still interesting, and I'm excited for what I could potentially do with this camera, because I think it's like getting to have fun with a bit more of actual filmmaking, I guess. like actually doing different shots and trying different things, which is really fun. So yeah, I did film this in 4K. I don't know whether I'm always going to do that. I don't know if anybody actually cares. Like when I'm watching a video I can tell the difference if it's 10K, if it's 4K or 1080p. But like, to me it's just like a slightly different vibe. It doesn't make one video better or one video worse. I don't know. So yeah, just a reminder as well, I do have links in my bio to Palestinian families who, you know, are going through horrendous, terrible things and, you know, are struggling to even eat a single meal. There's a family I support that, you know, you might get this idea that they get all this money all the time, and I can tell you that they don't. They can go weeks without even like $5 or something. And it's really, really, I can't imagine how tough it must be for them. So yeah, just a reminder of that. If you've got any spare money, even a small donation can mean a lot to them. Also, I do have my I Dream of Dogs zine is on my website for free, where I encourage people to donate to charity or donate to those link trees instead. So, you know, if you want to like enjoy the zine, print it off, whatever, please don't resell it obviously, but you know, print it off, enjoy it, or just read it online or whatever, then, you know, maybe consider just giving a couple of pounds to somebody in need. So yeah, just thought I'd mention that as well. I'm filming this like having not edited this vlog yet. I'm kind of hopeful that it's going to be a kind of, I don't know, I always hope these videos are kind of comforting in some way, cozy, just something that feels a bit of a break from whatever you need a break from. I'm trying to, you know, do something that can be meaningful. I don't know. My brain's not working today. So thank you so much for watching, and I really, really appreciate it every time. Always look forward to your comments and your thoughts. Thanks so much. See you next time. Goodbye. Funny old day. Funny old day. Funny old life.